So let me introduce. So this is Akinyi Walkowa is the eldest, and by the time she was born, I was actually in Form 3. And Uhuru was already married and already had a son. So you can see, and it was my mother's cousin. It's my mother who forced my father to get married again because people were laughing at her, saying she's a very jealous woman who cannot entertain or accommodate a co-wife. And so she brought her cousin and forced my father to marry her. Then, Akinyi Walkowa... That is true. That's true. So then my second stepmother, you've seen Susan. So the daughter is Anyango, Emily Anyango Dumpoda, and she's an MC in Kisumu County. There is Pauline Oginga or Kanyabondo. She's a chief officer of health in Mombasa. And now Nyakamami, my mother's last born, who is also the women rep of Kisumu County. So before I say anything, I'd like her to say something on behalf of the others.
I'm a bit shorter. I'm actually very short. Asante. Thank you very much. On behalf of Kisumu County, I would like to say, Karibuni Kisumu. This is Ruth Odinga, Mama County Kisumu. So you're all welcome. I'm the last, Mama County. Oh, there's the other Mama County, First Lady. You're all welcome, and I won't want to say much. I only want to say one thing. When my brother Uhuru stood here, he said that he talked a lot about his father. But I want to also say one, that if any of you want to see Jaramogi alive, look at me, from my hair to my toe. My Jaramogi muna no kani. Achal kode kadat mane Uburu ji wacho no bure first born no buru chal kode. To baba ne wacho ne gani ni ma chal kode ncho kacha made nyuol na go mana wuoyi. To kata kamano okakuodo wiye. Anyako bende ma pod thuona. Donga wiyego. Wan tie wan magore. Gini pod wagore to juoko ginga beango. To juoko ginga wachona. Ni 2027. Podumo neno mana wuodo Odinga moro kama dhi lido Kenya ka. Ero kamano uru Nyasaye mondo duoko.
Thank you. Thank you, Nyakamami. So there's Tabu. Tabu, can you just get up and wave to the people? Just wave to the people. Tabu Osewe, who's MCA in Kisii County and is the wife to the late Osewe. I don't know where Aquino is. You have already met everybody else. So let me just say a few words. I'm sure when I'm invited here, you don't want to hear about Jaramogi being a great politician, being a statesman, being a champion for the oppressed, and all of that, because everybody has talked about that. I'm sure you all want to know his other life, isn't it? You all want to know how he related to his family, and especially the girls. And a lot of times when people, oh please, why is everybody talking? Am I boring? Why are you all talking when I'm talking, surely? It's only a few minutes, just listen. So in church, people have always, Uhuru and Raila have always explained how they were baptized using African names. And that Mzee was against European names. It was, and a lot of people mistake. They are saying that Jaramogi hated European culture. That's not true. Jaramogi loved European culture. He loved Indian and other Eastern cultures and other cultures. He just did not like people copying other people's culture when it is not yours. Yeah, so that's what he did not like. And a lot of people have all these myths about him. When I was in school, people would come to ask me that, oh, we hear your father turns into foam, he turns into a fly, he turns into this. And then you get surprised because I was living with him in the same house and I never saw any of those things. Did any of you ever hear those stories about him turning into foam and I don't know what? like soaps, foam and sabs and all that. Yeah, or in that and carrying a dudabiye and all of that. So let me tell you, I want to say something about names. So there's a book which I'm writing, and I've written something about names. People don't know that the rest of us also had a struggle with names. And because most of us were jealous when we had people who are called nice names like John, George, Elizabeth, Mary, and you are called, you don't have any of those names. So one time I told you the idea of Jennifer, and then I dropped it. So it never stuck. And all of us, except for Raila, all of us at one time or another took on some European names, but we were too shy to let our parents know. So Oburu, I don't know whether they'll forgive me, but Oburu, when he was in Pehil, he was called John Dennis. He wanted to impress his friends. Yeah, he wanted to impress his friends, I think even girls, especially girls. So Agola was called Barack Buka. And then my sister Beryl was called Jane Alice when she was in Nyakach Girls. But later she went to St. Francis in Mangu, and she changed religion. She became a Catholic and then got baptized as Beryl. So that's her real name. Adhiambo did not need to take on any name because she was named after Ruth first. Yeah, so that is her name. So then later on, these three people were baptized, Raila, Oburu, and my father. The Legio Maria people came and baptized them. My father was called Nicodemo Ginga. And Raila was called Joshua Raila. And Oburu was called Caleb. So mine was the most dramatic because when I was going to Kenya High School, Mrs. Caroline Okelo Dongo, she was an African American, but she was also my father's PA, and she took me shopping. So when we went back to the house, at that time it was called Cabernet Gardens. No, it was called Archer Gardens, the present day Cabernet Gardens. So he looked at the list of the school and he said, I don't want these names. When you take her to school, can you cross these names? And he took a piece of paper and said, her real names are Wenwa, Asewe, Opondo, Oginga. Can you imagine? So I didn't think he was serious. Then I go to Kenya High School, and when we finished at the principal's office, she took out that piece of paper and said, I want to change her name. And so my name was quickly removed because I didn't tell you that the name I was using was different. Before I went to Maseno Girls, I called Raila and Oburu and asked them, what name should I take? And then they quickly had a meeting and said the name Roslyn. And I've never had such a sweet name. It was so sophisticated, so nice. So I changed everything. I was called Roslyn Akinyi. In Maseno, everybody there knew me as Roslyn Akinyi. So even when I went to Kenya High School, my admission papers had the name Roslyn Akinyi. Then my father went and my name was changed. So can you imagine? Kenya High School at that time was really, what do you call it? It was a typical colonial school. You know, there are all these school rules, there are table manners, respect your elders, the pudding, with cast tarts. And you can imagine that environment is where I went with a name like Wenwa, Opondo, Akinyi, Oginga. I have never been so embarrassed. And the class teacher, whenever she was reading the register in the morning, when she reached my name, she would start, Wenwa, Asewe, Opondo, and then she would pause, yeah? And then continue, so that everybody started laughing. Can you imagine what I went through? And all my friends were having nice names, Agnes, Gladys, Jane, sweet names. So later, Much later, I managed to drop some of the names, so I stayed with Wenwa, Akinyi, Odinga, Much later, I managed on my own way to... So, we also had our own struggles, but it did not mean that he hated English names or English culture. It was just not our culture, full stop. So, what I want to stop there. I'm writing a book. Some of these things are in that book, so later on you will be able to read, if at all it is ever published. Yeah. But my mother died almost 10 years ago. That is in November 1984, almost 10 years before. So she's going to be 10 years in November this year. They met at a sports ground called Migwena in Sakwa, a traditional sports ground for Luos from all over Nyanza. And she was a pretty girl, and she was outrunning all the other girls, and he fell in love with her. And later on, he managed to get her. So I just want to request that please, our political leadership, can you people do something about Migwena? Can you develop Migwena to bring it up maybe into a modern stadium or, a cultural stadium? And that's all I want to ask. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Now, on behalf of the in-laws, the daughters-in-laws of Jaramogi, I want to invite Minpin, Dr. Ida Odinga to come and say a few words. So Ida, karibu. Minpin.